This is the contemporary collegiate sound of Springfield, WAIC-FM, a member of the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System. 91.9 megacycles on your FM dial, broadcasting to the greater Springfield area. And now, WAIC presents Bill Methe on Sports, with special guests today, Pete and Frank Wodzicki.
Good evening, everyone. This is Bill Methe, and at this time, I'd like to welcome you to the first segment of Bill Methe on Sports. This is our first show over WIC-FM, and at this time each week, we'll be taking a look at the past, the present, and the future in sports, trying to see what's been happening, what is happening, and what's going to happen. And we hope that you'll make it a regular listening habit, and we certainly like to welcome you at this time. And as Fred told you, my special guests tonight are Pete and Frank Wodzicki. Frank, the captain of the AIC hockey team, and Pete, a stellar member of the team, who is the second leading scorer on the team. And we'll be talking to them in just a few minutes, but first, let's get to a few details about some other sports that have been going on in the last week. Now, the most important thing we have to talk about is the AIC basketball team, because the big news about them is that they've been selected to play in the NCAA New England Division Tournament, which will be taking place March 7th and 8th. Now, the Aces, so far this season, have compiled a 16-4 record, and they were selected last Monday along with Northeastern, and yesterday Assumption and St. Michael's were added to the field for the tournament, which will be held right here at Botova Gymnasium on, as I said, March the 7th and 8th, and it shapes up as a tremendous tournament. The Aces have had a fine season. They start off a little slowly, losing their first two games, but spearheaded by Moose Stronzak and Henry Payne, they have really come on, and they cinched the bid last Saturday with a 77-65 triumph over Colby after last Friday night's win over Boston University by a score of 102-65 in a game in which Moose Stronzak set a school record for points as he scored 48 points and played a tremendous game. He had 34 points and 24 rebounds in the first half, which is really incredible because, believe me, there aren't too many players that will get that many points in a game in their lives. And here was Moose in the first half put on a performance like that. It was just something to watch. And AIC tonight, in just about an hour and 20 minutes from now, at 10 minutes to 8 o'clock, will be playing UMass, and that game will be broadcast right here over WAIC-FM 91.9. I'll be there to bring you all the play-by-play action, and we hope you'll be tuned in then, because it should be a tremendous game, as UMass were eliminated from the Yankee Conference race the other night against UConn, but they still have a formidable team because they are a division above us, and anytime you play a school which is in the university division, you're always going to be in for a tough time. They, of course, have some fine ball players in Tim Edwards, John Lysak, and Bill Tyndall, and it should be quite a ball game tonight. Now, we might get back to this tournament for a moment. As I said, in the New England division, it'll be AIC, Northeastern, Assumption, and St. Michael's, and the pairings have not been announced, but a good guess might be that it would be AIC against St. Michael's and Northeastern against Assumption in the first round. Now, in addition to the New England bracket, there's also a New York section, which will include Central Connecticut, which is an unusual situation because there's so many good New England teams in this year that they had to take Central Connecticut and put them in the New York bracket because of a dearth of good New York teams. So Central Connecticut will be the host team there, and they will be in there with Long Island University and either Potsdam or Buffalo State, and one other team is still to be selected. Now, they also have a Pennsylvania bracket, which will include Philadelphia Textile, and that one will be played at Muhlenberg College, and they also have Cheney State, and the two division winners in the Mid-Atlantic Conference will also be in there. And what happens is that the New England winner will play the New York winner, and then they play the Pennsylvania winner and in Evansville. But the winner of the New York and New England divisions will, after the playoff, will have the right to go to Evansville for the finals of the tournament. But at any rate, AIC, I believe, stands a good chance in the tournament, and we certainly hope that you'll turn out to see them in the tournament. But before they get to the tournament, they have a couple of games left in which they're playing Saturday night at Springfield College, in which should be a tremendous game because whenever AIC and Springfield get together, it doesn't matter what the records are. You know it's going to be a fine game. And Springfield, after a very slow start, has come on very fast, and they right now have a 13-9 record, and I'm sure they're having a winning season. And I'm sure they would love to upset the NCAA contenders, AIC, and we hope that you'll all turn out for that game because it should be quite a ball game. And following that, next Tuesday night, AIC will wind up the season against Southern Connecticut College. Now, as far as the standings go in Western Mass, AIC is a top team in Western Mass with a 16-4 record, and then you have North Adams State, which is not in our division, but nevertheless is a Western Mass team, has a record of 14-5. Springfield is 13-9. Williams is 7-5. Westfield State is 10-9. Massachusetts is 9-12, but they are a university division team. They're not in our division either. Amherst, which is in our division and holds a win over us, is 6-11, and that was their moment of glory this season, that win that they had over us by a score of 74-72 during the semester break. But other than that, they have not had too good a season. And then they have Western New England, which has just started playing this year, just had NCAA sanction this year, and they are 2-14. Now, as I said, AIC is playing at UMass tonight, and in other games, Amherst will be at Middlebury, Norwich will be at Williams, and Franklin Pierce will be playing Western New England here at the Blatova Gymnasium tonight. And a couple of other big games next Saturday. AIC will, as I said, will play Springfield. Amherst will be at Wesleyan, Williams at RPI, UMass at Maine, and Westfield will play at Salem State. So that, I believe, brings us about up to date on the situation in Western Mass. Now, as far as nationally, the UPI ratings came out yesterday, and it shows that UCLA is a unanimous choice, 21-0, and anybody who wouldn't vote for UCLA for number one, I don't know what team they're watching, because they're just unbelievable. Lou Alcindor has just taken that team and made them unbeatable. They've tried everything against them, but nobody's been able to do anything. However, the number 2 team, Louisville, which are 22-2 and received 312 votes, I believe, should they play in the NCAA tournament, would give them a good battle. They also have a fine team, but they are number 2. North Carolina, 18-3, is number 3. Kansas gets the number 4 spot. They have a 17-3 record. Western Kentucky, 20-1, is number 5. Princeton dropped down to number 6 after losing to Cornell last Saturday. They are 20-2. Houston is 19-3 and in 7th place. Tennessee is 17-4 and in 8th place. Texas Western is 17-5 and in 9th place. And Boston College, with a squeaker win over Providence last Saturday by a score of 83-82, holds down the number 10 spot. And rounding out the second 10 are Syracuse, Utah State, Vanderbilt, Providence, Duke, Toledo, St. John's, Brigham Young, Florida, and Virginia Tech. Now, that was at the beginning of the week. Now, last night we had some big games in college basketball. Among them, Dayton defeated Miami by a score of 80-79. Worcester Tech beat Coast Guard 85-70. TCU beat Rice 83-74. St. Joseph's beat American University 94-68. St. John's beat Syracuse 71-64 in a mild upset, but not too big a one. They're both pretty even. Villanova shocked Providence 55-52. SMU beat Arkansas 69-66. Worcester Tech beat Coast Guard 85-70. Union beat RPI 76-68. Brown beat Rhode Island 73-55. Boston College beat Boston University 74-46. It was Connecticut 114, New Hampshire 75 to wrap up the Yankee Conference title in a bid to the NCAA tournament. It was Davidson 73, VMI 69, and Loyola of Chicago beat Ohio University 73-70. So that takes care of the college scene. Now, just to give you the late scores last night in the NBA, and then we'll be talking with our special guests. Last night, in a game which many of you may have seen on TV, Boston annihilated the Knicks 143-114, as Boston just completely dominated the game, and it was just a one-sided game after the first quarter. And I don't know, it's too bad Boston can't play the Knicks every game, and they'd be in first place now instead of being 8.5 games behind Philadelphia, as they've beaten the Knicks 16 straight times. The Knicks have not beaten them since March of 1965, but then again, up until this year, the Knicks haven't beaten very much of anybody anyway. So, anyway, Boston beat New York last night, and Detroit beat St. Louis 112-109, so that Philadelphia leads Boston by 8.5 games. The Knicks, who have clinched the playoff spot, are in third place, 2.5 games ahead of Cincinnati, and Baltimore is clinched last. San Francisco leads in the Western Division over St. Louis. Los Angeles is third, Detroit's fourth, and Chicago is just 2 games behind Detroit in the Western Division. And tonight, Chicago plays in New York at Baltimore. Boston's at Baltimore in the second game of a doubleheader. Cincinnati's at Los Angeles. We'll be back with a special guest and more sports talk right after this message.
You like music? How'd you like to work in a recording studio? How'd you like to get a job in the aviation business? Or the electronics industry, making space satellites or other advanced equipment? There are thousands of great jobs in hundreds of exciting fields waiting to be filled. And you can get the one you want if you've got what it takes, a good education. Today, to get a good job, you need a good education. A good education qualifies you for better jobs, at better pay, too. So, if you're in school now, stay there. Learn all you can as long as you can. If you're out of school, there's plenty of valuable training available outside the classroom. For details, visit the youth counselor at your state employment service. To get a good job, get a good education.
We're back now with our special guest. As I said in the beginning of the show, we have first the captain of the AIC hockey team, Frank Wodzicki, who in addition to being captain of the team, has another distinction this year. The other night against last Thursday night, who was it? Against Brown University, Frank set the Ironman record. He has played in 62 consecutive games, which is an AIC record, which nobody has come close to in recent years, and Frank broke the record. Who held the record before you, Frank? It was Ivan Pellerin. And so that's quite a distinction for Frank. And we also have his brother, who's also on the team, and who is the second highest scorer on the team in goals, despite the fact that Pete never knows quite who he's playing with from one game to the next. As Pete's kind of on the third line, which has been shifted around quite a bit. But
well, Bill, it isn't really a third line, it's any line that I'm playing on, and sometimes it's, I'm playing with, being a senior in the team, and therefore I'm required to play on any line that he wants me to play, and he figures this way I can help the team the most, so it's not really what line you play on, it's how you help the team that counts the most.
Right. Now, you fellas have found yourself in an interesting position. A week ago, at this time, it was a question everybody was on their minds of whether or not AIC was going to beat out Norwich for first place and get the home ice for the NCAA playoffs. And now it's a question of do or die this Thursday night on college hockey night against Norwich. Now, how are you boys looking at this game Thursday night? Suppose we start with Frank.
Well, Bill, it wasn't a question of gaining first place, but I think we took game for game, and our first test was against Merrimack College Saturday night. And unfortunately, the refs we were handicapped by a few penalties, and Merrimack just capitalized on our penalty situation. And then Monday night at Middlebury College, we lost a heartbreaking 3-2 defeat. And again, it was just the reverse, because Middlebury was getting all the penalties, and we couldn't seem to capitalize on our man advantage. And it's just one of those situations when the team's really trying, nothing's going right. But now we have our game to look forward to tomorrow night, and we're in a situation of do or die, and we know that Norwich is very powerful. They beat us in our 2 previous encounters, but I feel with the practice tonight and a good rest, I think the boys should be ready for the game, and I sincerely believe that we can beat them because we have as good personnel as they have. It's just a question whether we will work as a team, and if the breaks come our way, I definitely think that we can win the ball game, and this will put us right back in the race again.
We should point out to the fans who did not see the Merrimack game when you spoke about the officiating. Now, the key point in that game was that the score was tied at 2-2. You had been behind 2-0 at the end of the first period, came right back, got 2 quick goals, and then Jeff Burgess was given a 5-minute penalty for charging, which everybody who saw the game was still wondering why he got 5 minutes, but at any rate, it was a 5-minute penalty. And of course, when you have a 5-minute penalty, if another team scores, you're not allowed to come back on the ice until you've served your 5 minutes. And it was that point that Merrimack scored 4 goals to break the game wide open.
No, Bill, I think at that point it was Merrimack scored 3 goals, and then as soon as Jeff came back from his penalty, he was out on the ice for about 10 seconds, he got another penalty, and they scored, and they took advantage of that 2 minutes also, and they scored again, and we were down 4 goals have to adjust for 7 minutes in the penalty box.
I stand corrected. You're right.
So it's more of
Now, of course, as we said, tomorrow night is the big game against Norwich, and it is college hockey night. And we should tell the fans how much it means to the team to have a big crowd there to cheer them on in a big game like this.
Well, Bill, really I can't emphasize this enough because it means so much more. Of course, we don't have our own rink here, and the Coliseum seats 5,000 people, whereas these other rinks only seat 2,000, and they all have their own rinks, so they get the student support. And in these other towns, there really isn't that much to do in the evening but to go to a hockey game. But I can't really emphasize too much what a support and the fans and all the cheers that are set up by the fans, how much this means to a team and how much it perks them up. And under these situations, I certainly think that it enlivens the team and really encourages them to play better. And if at all you want to see, this will be, I would say, one of our best college encounters at the Coliseum tomorrow night. And if you have free time on your hand, we would certainly appreciate your support tomorrow night.
There will be a bus leaving the campus here, I believe, at 7 o'clock. I'm not sure, but there's signs all over the campus. You just take the time to look at them, and that will tell you where the bus is leaving. And I know the team would really like to see everybody turn out there. I know I'll be there because I know it's going to be probably the game of the year. And as I said, it's a must encounter. Now, supposing that you're fortunate enough to beat Norwich tomorrow night, and you also can beat Hamilton Saturday night and are selected for the tournament, how do you look at the tournament? Who would you say you most likely would be facing?
well, Bill, it's very difficult to say who we'd be facing because, like Colby and Norwich, I think they each have at least 4 more games in their division left. It depends how they do with those, whether they win or lose those 4 games, who would end up in first place. So I don't think you could really tell at the present moment who you'd be playing. You could pretty well know the teams that are in the playoffs, but I don't think you would know definitely who you would play.
Right, we would figure that if you were in it, there definitely would be Norwich.
It would definitely Norwich, Colby, Middlebury, and Merrimack. It would be among the 5 of us that would get one of the 5 wouldn't get the position.
Right.
The big thing in this, Bill, is that landing up in first or second place, because if you land up in first or second place, then you get the home ice advantage. And this, I think, makes a big difference in the team's performance and also, as again, the fan support. So our main concern here at the present is just to make the playoffs, and then we'll leave the rest up to the tournament committee as to what place we'll land up in and as to what team we'll play.
I'd like to point out something, that this team has compiled a fine record this year of, I believe, 13-6.
No,
13-8.
We're 13-8-1 at the present, Bill.
13-8-1, and it's been done mostly on the road because majority of your games are on the road, and I think this shows what a fine team you really have, because the mark of a good team is a team that can win away from home, because maybe you can tell how much that being on the road works against you.
Well, it really works against you in 2 things, Bill. Mostly is the fans. I mean the fan support from the home team lifts the team, and second of all, sometimes the officiating isn't the best. I mean, this is not always the case, but a few times this goes against you. Bill.
Another mark on this, Bill, is that it's the home team that has the right to get the officials for that game, and usually it's the officials from the surrounding area. And I would say that the officials have a tendency to favor the home team, and probably in a clutch situation, they would more than likely call a penalty against the visiting team than against the home team. And believe me, this does make a difference in the outcome of the game and in the crucial situations.
As I mentioned, the team has turned in a fine record this year, and at the beginning of the year, there was quite a bit of doubt as to how the team would do, because there were a lot of sophomores on the team, and it was figured that this was a rebuilding year. But right from the opening gun, you won the first, I believe it was 5 games, and you've really played a tremendous season so far. And I was wondering if you could tell us what you think has contributed to this surprising season that you boys have had.
Well, naturally, Bill, I mean, any team where you have 11 sophomores at the start and you're not really sure how you're going to start off, I mean, naturally, any time you have 11 sophomores, it's going to be, you're not really sure whether you're going to win or lose. But then as we won our first 5 games and the boys gained confidence. And I think it's been great team spirit, everybody willing to do their part, and nobody wanted to stand out as a great, it was just great team spirit. I think it's about the best way to sum it up.
Well, the boys...
It's team spirit also, but in addition, I think it's teamwork and the team winning together and having self-confidence in themselves and knowing that we are as good as another team and working together and having this unified effort I think there's when you work together as a team, then there's no stopping you from winning.
I think the boys don't want to say it, but I think quite a bit of the success of the team has been due to the leadership of Frank Wodzicki, who's done a fine job as captain, and Pete Wodzicki, who's done a fine job in giving the team spirit, and has also scored 13 goals this year, and has done a tremendous job. But of course, the boys are a little modest, so
Well, it's
I have
that
to bring
too,
that
Bill.
on.
But then we have to understand that we have 11 sophomores, and the way these sophomores have come through, and primarily I think that they have this winning attitude that I think we lacked on previous AIC teams, and it's within the blood of these players. And I think this year probably will set the precedent for years to come in AIC hockey plans.
Something I'd like to ask you, Frank. Now, last year and the year before that, you were just a regular defensive player, but this year you've been captain. Now, how much of an added burden is it to be captain? What are some of the responsibilities that you have? I think the fans might be interested.
Well, this is a good question, Bill, but your captain is your man in between your coach and the players. And anytime the players have a problem, well, they come and see me, and then in addition, I go and see the coach, and I try to act as the in-between man to solve problems and to, any advice that they give me and where we have problems facing us, I bring this up to the coach, and then I relay this back to the players. And this is one facet of being a captain, and the other one is just being a leader off the ice and primarily being a leader on the ice. And I think you have to be a solid man, and don't let too many problems worry you and overburden you, because then you kind of feel that that everything's on your shoulder, and then it starts to affect your play, and then that's when your downfall comes primarily. But all around, you have to be a leader on the ice and off the ice, and hold your players in. I believe in a lot of hard work, self-discipline, and spirit. And if you set that precedent for your team, then you'll have a fine combination.
Well, you certainly have showed that this year. There's no doubt about it. Now, Pete, I'd like to ask you something. Now, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, you have tended to have different line mates quite a bit. Now, how much of an adjustment is for you to play a game with one set of line mates, and all of a sudden the next game you're with another set of line mates?
Well, Bill, it's not really that much of an adjustment, because most of these boys, you either scrimmage with them during practice, and therefore, you get to know them, and just really talking a little bit with them, and get together and make sure you know where each one of you is when you're forechecking and things like this. I mean, it's not that great an adjustment. I mean, it does help to have the same line mates, but circumstances have prevented this, and therefore, I mean, I'm just a member of the team, and I want the team to do the best. So therefore, if this is the way I can help the team, well, this is my job, and I should try to do my very best.
No.
That's what I've been doing.
The other night you shifted from wing to center. Now, would you say there was a great adjustment there that you had to make?
Well, not really that much, Bill, because even though I'm not a center man, I know how to play the center position, and I played it a few times before. So therefore, it wasn't that much of an adjustment. The main adjustment there was I was able to carry the puck much more than when I was in the wing.
Speaking of adjustments, now, of course, when you boys came down here from Toronto, I think you probably had a little adjustment to make in the Canadian style of play versus the American style, and the fans might not realize that there is quite a difference.
Well, I don't know if you'd say there's quite a difference, Bill. I mean, it's...
Well, at least
in
one phase of the game anyway.
In a Canadian style of play, you can forecheck anywhere, and you can check anywhere. It doesn't matter what part of the rink you're in. While in the collegiate rules here, and the American rules, I guess, or international as you call them, you can only check in your own end. And you have to, you can't use body contact in the opposing end. And I think, well, at the start it is a little difficult to learn, but I mean, if you try hard and you realize that, you have to get adjusted to this, after a few games or a couple weeks, you will get adjusted to this.
I know that quite a few of the freshmen from the games I've seen have had quite a bit of trouble adjusting to this.
Well, that's true. I mean, each individual is different, so therefore it's very difficult to pinpoint a certain time that an individual will be adjusted to it.
Well, we're talking about the freshmen. I was wondering maybe if you could say how you think a few of the boys might help out the team next year.
Well, this year we're going to lose 5 seniors, Bill. So I think we have quite a good freshman team. I don't think it's the greatest, but I think we do have about. In fact, we're losing 5 seniors. I think we will have 5 sophomores who will take our place, and they should be a very good team next year also, because they have the nucleus of players back from this year.
Right. Next year, I think next year the team should be pretty strong because, as you say, even though you're losing 5 seniors, the nucleus of the team is back. And of course, you have Gary Socher, who the leading scorer on the team, is only a sophomore. And I think when you're talking about individuals who have made a difference on the team, I think he has made a tremendous difference this year.
Well, Gary's definitely a leader, and he really leads the team, and he leads his line mates, especially when. This was, in my estimation, was notable the last game we played against Millbury, where Gary was injured, and I can't say that his line mates didn't play well, but I don't think they played as well or up to their potentials as they would have been had Gary been at his best, not being injured.
Yes, Gary did hurt his back in the Merrimack game last Saturday, and I hope that he'll be in fairly good shape for Thursday night's game.
I'll tell you, but you're not the only one that's hoping. I think the whole team is hoping that because...
Well, we need everybody we can, Bill. And, boy, all our players contribute to our effort of winning. And
hockey...
miss one, it's just like missing everybody.
Hockey's a team sport, and, one individual... it makes a big difference to the team, but, every individual is important, and Gary's part of the team, and we want him to be there.
Absolutely. I think...
Especially like him, too. With his potential to score and... his leadership and his drive and digging the puck out of the corners for his wingman, he definitely plays an important part in our winning or losing a game.
I think that since we're running out of time, I did want to ask you, Frank, I know what your plans are, but a lot of the fans don't. Could you tell them what your plans might be in the future after this year?
Well, Bill, I'm pretty indefinite myself at the present, but I have tentative plans, and it's just a question if they'll materialize, but I have plans of going to Europe next year and possibly working or carrying on as a hockey player somewhere in the Austrian Hockey Federation. And this Sunday I'm going to go down to Lynn and see the Austrian national team is playing the Eastern Olympic team, and possibly I can get to speak with one of the players or coaches there and see what kind of information they can give me as far as getting on a team down there. And I'd like to tour around Europe a little bit, and as I say, athletics has done a great thing for me, and it's brought me to a lot of places, and I've met a lot of people, and I still have this urge to see part of Europe. And, well, whether it be through working or through playing hockey, I think it's a great advantage for you in life, and it's an education of its own. And these are my tentative plans.
And Pete will be here another semester at least next year, but Pete also has some interesting plans if they materialize.
Well, Bill, I have to finish school next fall. I'd like to play at the Eastern Olympics if I do get a chance with them. I'm not sure if I'll be able... They do quite a bit of traveling, and in fact, I do have to go to school, and most of the games are in Boston, or that's where they practice. So I'm not really sure if I will be able to, but I would like to definitely if I get a chance, I'd like to play with Mr. Garrity's team.
Now, lest the fans misunderstand, explain a little bit what the Eastern Olympics are so that they don't think you're going out for the Olympic team next year.
Well, no. The Eastern Olympics are just a team made up of mostly ex-college players who want to continue playing hockey, and maybe someday they're interested in going for the American team out, the American national team.
I should admit, they're all pretty fine players too.
Yeah, they're pretty fine. They got like most of the positive All-Americans and leading players around the area play for them.
Well, I see by the hands on the clock that we're just about out of time, and it's really been a pleasure to have you boys on the show. And for a first show, I think you boys have really give us a lot of information here. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope that when the tennis season starts, that perhaps you boys will come back and talk to us a little bit about tennis. But in the meantime, as I say, it's been a real pleasure having you, and wish you the best of luck tomorrow night and also on Saturday. And we certainly hope to see a big turnout for that game tomorrow night, because it is the most important game of the year, and the team needs your support. But thanks a lot, boys, and
thanks very much, Bill. It's been our pleasure.
Thanks very much, Bill.
And until next week, this will be Bill Methe saying so long for now. You have just heard Bill Methe on Sports with special guest Pete and Frank Wodzicki. Bill Methe on Sports is a WAIC-FM sports presentation. This is the contemporary collegiate sound of Springfield, WAIC-FM, a member of the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System, 91.9 megacycles on your FM dial, serving the greater Springfield area.